what is it like? If you have two of these three things, you'll always work. It's if you're good, if people like you, if you're fast.
Welcome back to Basic Brain Heart. I am Hannah Camacho, and you're going to have to forgive my voice a little bit today. I'm getting over a cold, so I tried to do as little talking as possible, but it's still there and noticeable, so thank you for putting up with that. Today we have a really fabulous guest, Shannon Tindle, who's really passionate about story and making stories personal. You may know his work from Kubo and the Two Strings. He was the original writer of that story and was really involved in the story process there. He was the original director of the film and has had a hand in a lot of other really great stories we're pretty familiar with, such as Coraline, The Powerpuff Girls Rule, Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. He's just so passionate about writing good stories and making sure that they resonate not only with yourself as the writer, but also with your audience. And we get into some actionable truths as far as when you're developing a story, how to make sure it's a winning story and how to make sure that your audience will be resonating with it. And Shannon is just such a truthful guy, a really charming guy, and it was just a great conversation. So I hope you enjoy what we chat about today. Without further ado, here is my conversation with Shannon Tindle. Well, Shannon, thank you so much for taking some time on your weekend to chat with me. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for inviting me to be on.
Of course, it's my pleasure. You've been a busy guy these days.
I have. It's funny because I feel I am busy, but since there's a lot of stuff I can't talk about.
Yes.
People think that you're not busy, and I'm
what
like,
are you
no,
really doing?
No, I was like, no, I am actually very busy.
Very busy.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And you also have a family. And when you have a family, the creative pursuits and balancing all that can be kind of an interesting challenge. But I do always love to hear a little bit about the backgrounds of anybody who's on the show, because I feel like we want to know your backstory and your full story and who you are and where you come from. And we won't dwell too much on this, but it'd be great if you could kind of walk us through a little bit of sort of where you come from, a little bit about your family background. And I know that you initially didn't pursue storytelling as your professional pursuit. So maybe just share a little bit about that point in your life, that pivotal point.
Yeah. So I was born and raised in a little town outside of Louisville. I'll say it the proper way, Louisville.
Ah, yes.
For all my Kentucky fans out there, I'll slip into the accent. Called Shepherdsville, Kentucky.
Nice.
A lot of my family's still there. Most of my family's still there, and yeah, I went to school there in Shepherdsville. Then I went to high school in Louisville at St. Xavier High School, and then I went to the University of Louisville, where I was a biology major and interested in. I was going to go pre-med, and and Mom and Dad were all happy about that, excited because Mom's a nurse and Dad actually became a nurse later.
Did you feel genuinely, sorry to cut you off there, did you feel
sure.
genuinely interested in that field, or did it just kind of feel like a safe, this makes sense, this will be a good living, or did you find a genuine interest there?
No, I always loved science, and so I was definitely interested. But there was also, when you grow up in Kentucky, art is not the first thing that you think of doing. Yeah. When you were like, hey, I might want to support myself at some point, and could I do this? Now, I always drew. There was never a time that I remember where I wasn't drawing or creating. But it was my dad actually who said, hey, you're doing well, you're getting good grades, but you don't seem to really be into this. What do you really want to do? And I said, I want to go work in animation. And there's this school out in California called Cal Arts. And and my dad was like, all right, that's what you want to do. Show me that you really want to do it. And I'll support you in that. And he actually read all of my animation books. So he read Luke's Lot, and he read Chuck Amok, and the Art of Animation by Bob Tom. Like, he read all those books. And Mom was super supportive too. So I applied to Cal Arts once and did not get in. Like, I'd never put a portfolio together at all, and I took a month to put it together. But what was really cool was I reached out. Dad was like, you know what? You didn't get in, whatever. We're gonna fly out there, and I'm gonna fly you out there, and we're gonna meet the teachers, and we're gonna see if you really have a chance at
Wow.
this. And so we went, and I met Corny Cole, the legendary Corny Cole,
Wow.
and Martha Baxton, who I think just retired last year from Cal Arts, and Frank Terry, who was running the department. Just
Hmm.
amazing people, and they were very encouraging. And Corny actually I would send him drawings, and he would send me critiques in the mail with letters.
Wow, that's amazing.
And I got in the second time, and I started there in '97. And it was one of those places where as soon as I landed there, I felt
Hmm.
I should be here. This is where I belong.
That's so great.
So yeah,
I love how supportive your dad was. That's pretty rare. And it's amazing that he educated himself and kind of didn't take no for an answer. And wow, that's just amazing that you were able to build those relationships to get the critiques and the information that you needed in order to succeed the second time around.
yeah. What's crazy too is I had taken a job to save money in case I got in, so that I would have, because art school's not cheap.
No, yeah.
And so we had just had heavy flooding in Kentucky, and the mail was delayed. And so I was waiting to get the results back to see if I got in that second time. And I was working second shift at this printing company in downtown Louisville. And I'll never forget my dad calling me at work and saying, "You got in."
Oh my goodness.
And so that was pretty great.
That is pretty great.
So yeah, I moved out here in '97, and I've been on the West Coast ever since.
Did you meet your wife at Cal Arts?
No, I met her on. I was working on Proud Family as a character designer,
Gotcha.
and she was in production,
Ah.
and so she'd gone to art school at the Academy of Art in San Francisco, but she had just she was an intern, then
Hmm.
she was a PA, and then she became a coordinator on Proud Family, and that's where we met.
Very cool. And the rest is history. Was
Yeah.
your art school experience a good one? Did you just feel like you grew in leaps and bounds and it set you up for success immediately? I mean, a lot of folks that have sort of quote unquote made it in animation seem to share a couple of common traits. One of them being, they don't wait for permission to make something. They're just, in school, they're just churning out work. And that doesn't stop once they're out of school, of course, and just working and working and working and learning and getting better. Did you feel like that was your experience? And right after you were done, it was kind of a smooth ride into the animation industry, or did you encounter any tricky hiccups?
Well, it was a mixture, because Cal Arts was a great decision,
Mm.
and partly because the faculty that we had was so supportive. We had the full time faculty during the day, which was Corny Cole and Mike Mitchell and Frank Terry,
Mm.
and just amazing Bruce Richards, amazing teachers. Um, and at night we actually had professionals who worked in the industry who would teach story classes. So I had Steve Anderson, I had Mark
Wow.
Kennedy, my story teachers.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then the people around me, these like the people who were ahead and behind me in my class were, so Pete Brown was in my class, who created Uncle Grandpa,
Wow. Yes.
and Audie Harrison, who is the supervising director on that show. He's now at Disney. Shane Prigmore was 2 years ahead of me. We're close friends. Peter Sohn,
Mm.
who directed Good Dinosaur,
That's great.
was in my
What a
class,
great
and
group.
Andy Schuler. So like all these guys, and when you have guys that are that talented, it just makes you want to work harder and be better. So there's
Absolutely.
a very good, um, uh, I would say, a supportive, positive type of competition.
Sure.
Um, but then the reality came of getting a job, and like the bottom dropped out of the industry right as
Mm.
I was coming to
Oh
Cal
boy.
Arts. So I would hear these stories. Shane and Pete and those guys would be like, "Oh man, yeah, last year Like I got offered jobs at Pixar, but people barely knew who Pixar was at the time. Uh, Disney, all these different places, and I got all these offers. And then Shane and Pete and Andy Schuler, Eddie Rosas, Devin
Hmm.
Crane, Dave Lee, they all got offers to work on Iron Giant,
Oh wow.
um, which was my freshman year. And I remember Brad coming in and showing clips from it, and
It's a
our
great
minds were
film. Yeah.
blown. Yeah. And then I got nothing. I got a
Oh
call
no.
back to take a test on Dilbert. Uh, that was one. Nothing happened. And
Hmm.
then I did get recommended for an internship at Imagineering and
Okay.
it was for the animatronics.
Oh nice.
So I spent a few weeks in the summer animating the animatronics as an internship. Awesome people, but was like, I don't really want to do that.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I mean, it was magical. It was because I was crashing at Shane and Pete's apartment,
Wow.
and we were just it was an awesome summer. Um, but it was I was like, I don't know what I want to do if I want to do this or not. And then second year, I had no money, and
Hmm.
uh, I was recommended to help out on character design on Mickey Mouse Works. And that
Gotcha.
was kind of my first. I remember I just worked a few weeks on that show, but I remember making enough money on that show that I was like living the high life for the rest of the semester because I was working and
Nice.
going to school. Now, here's the good thing about like being a biology major, like heading for pre med. Um, your chemistry and your calculus credits transfer real easily to Cal Arts.
I can imagine.
So I didn't have to take any, like all my classes were art classes and animation related
Oh,
classes.
nice.
So I could do the same, like where I would work during the day at Disney and then do my homework at night. And then after that, it just, you're like clawing from one job to the next. But it was tough. It was tough
No doubt.
coming out at that time because, uh, the days of Lion King had kind of faded,
Hmm.
and and so I had some pockets of unemployment, but then things kind of come back. You hear it a lot. It's cyclical. It is.
Yes.
Uh, you're trying to you really want to try and establish your reputation.